Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hello and welcome to the first ever meeting in the Apex Racing League Radical Championship. Over the next 6 weeks we have got 6 rounds of this series in a variety of racing formats, all of which broadcast on Apex Racing TV. For this first round of the championship, myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, will be bringing you all the action alongside David Whitehouse, and Barclay Barbineau will be operating the cameras. Exciting stuff this day for the first ever meeting in this championship. This Radical SR8 car is really one of the best sports cars, in my opinion, on iRacing, and we should see a lot of good action in around this Suzuka circuit, a track which really can show off the performance levels of these Radical SR8 machines.
Hi to everyone. Before we start, yes, the Radicals, a really quick car, grippy. The drivers can throw them around a little bit and try and get the maximum out of them. And with the high-speed nature of the Suzuka circuit, you're going to be able to really take out the performance from the cars. But what they've all got to remember is this is an old-style circuit. While there's fast corners and you can push it to the limit, there's a few corners where if you just get it a little bit wrong, you will end up in the wall and not be able to recover. So it'll be a taxing race throughout for these drivers.
For sure, and this race is much longer than the races that the drivers are used to in this Radical SR8 machine. Fans of Apex Racing TV will be familiar that, of course, we do broadcast these cars on a Friday evening, the official series that is, and that's only 25-minute races, approximately 25 to 30-minute races. This is going to be a 1 hour long event. It's a mixture of formats, so a few 25-minute races where we'll have 2 in an evening. Tonight though, it's just the single 60-minute race, and so you're absolutely right, Dave, to keep it out of the walls for that amount of time in these cars is going to be super tricky. We're currently in a qualifying session, and this is something a little bit different once again compared to what we're used to, because all the drivers are out on circuit with one another, so you can pick up a Josh, you can pick up some turbulent air potentially, but yeah, all the drivers out on track, and they get as many laps as they like in this 10-minute session. Currently it's this man SDK Gaming who's a terrific Radical SR8 driver at the top, and he's looking to improve a little bit more. He's got time to complete this lap. He's currently got 0.3 of a second over John McCutcheon.
Yeah, he's so far dominated the qualifying session, sitting at the top of the table for a while. But Engelhardt, who is, I believe, one of our AM drivers, has jumped up into 4th place and only 0.3 off him. But Ming comes round to complete his lap and goes even quicker with a 52.4. And I don't think anybody will be getting near that at the end of this session.
Now that is a proper good time. I might even look back to see what the best time the other day was in the official series, because yeah, 52.4 is top quality stuff to beat McCutcheon, multiple race winner in the strength of field races, by a little bit of a gap. You're right about Engelhardt, amateur driver up there in 4th position. That's what the white stripe indicates, and you'll also see the drivers on screen. Their side pod will have either white with AM on them or red with the Pro on the side of their car. So as they're racing around, you should be able to see exactly which class they're in. They are still scoring for overall points. They want to battle one another, do these drivers, but they do enter different championships. Now this is something I'm slightly surprised at, because we've actually got enough time in this qualifying session to complete this last lap, so they'll be able to finish this one. So the qualifying session's not quite over, and this man, Aldous Putakles of Kinetic Racing, still looking to improve if he possibly can. Also Thurman on a lap, Bouchamp on a lap, Humphrey and Chambers as well, trying to get those extra few tenths of a second.
Yeah, luckily everyone's got a clear playing field. There's no favourites at the moment, apart from other series where we might know drivers. This is the first time all the drivers have been out on track competing with each other, and currently, we're seeing the Pro-Am split in about the right position. Engelhardt, Tolman probably outperforming themselves here so far, but the Pro drivers near the top of the table and the AM drivers just below, but not that far off, which could make the racing interesting if one of the Pro drivers falls back downfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely could. So yeah, great to see Engelhardt though up there as Chambers pops up into 7th place. Good lap. A few more drivers crossing the line. Humphrey can't improve, so he remains in 10th position. Anyone else just around the final corner? Cybas just coming around the final corner. In fact, Thurman can improve. Can Cybas improve? No, he can't, so he remains in 15th place. So quite a close qualifying top 5, separated by half a second, but really the 4/10 of that of course coming from Key Gaming at the front of the table. So we will complete this qualifying session. The session will soon tick over, and we'll get into the race. Of course, the pick setup is this series for you guys who aren't aware. This is the same setup that they use in the official series for this week in the Suzuka week of the championship, and so they will pretty much all be able to go to about half an hour into the race we're expecting, and then fill up a little bit more fuel, probably keep the same tyres on the car, and then go to the end of the race. So it should be interesting, Dave, to see the strategy play a part in this one, because pitting a lap early, pitting a lap late, maybe saving some fuel whilst you're stuck behind a driver, could turn out to be quite beneficiary later on in the race.
Yeah, those odd laps of clear air around this circuit will be all crucial. A lot of people mention the sweepers at the start of a lap or the famous 130R corner, but I always think crucial one to get that clear air is the double apex before you go under the bridge. One little mistake there and you'll be in a wall, because we've seen plenty of people do it in the past.
exactly. And in these low ride height cars, running a little bit wide there, and you're absolutely right, gonna end up in the wall. So there is Kike Ming up on pole position ahead of John McCutcheon. There's Aldous Puterklis in third place. Top of the amateurs is Christian Engelhardt. Behind him, it's Meg Thurman, Daniel Beauchamp, Matt Chambers, Michael Tolman is second out of the amateurs. John Aldridge and Bob Humphrey round out the top 10. Behind that, it's Graham Brown, Mario Hraski in 12th, Aaron Smith, Kev Copeland, Thomas Sybas, Michael Youngblood, John Tressida, Jack Reeve, Joseph Saul, Moritz Rockington, Zach Edel, and Wolfgang Loader will round out the 22 cars. Standing starts in this series as well, which can be very tricky, super tricky car to get off the line here. But Ming on pole position for this one. Dave, do you think he's going to have a similar advantage in the race as he did in qualifying? Because he had quite a cushion in that qualifying session.
I personally can't see why he wouldn't, but then again, he may have just got a lap with completely clear air while the others were fighting. But then that could happen, very easily happen in a race. Top three may want to take advantage of Engelhardt being in there to pull away from the rest of them and carry on fighting. But I think Ming will, I won't say run away with this, but let's see when he decides to pit with his strategy, because that could be all crucial.
Definitely, and so the lights are about to come on for the first ever round of the Apex Racing League Radical Championship. Ming from the pole position. It's not a strong start though, and McCutcheon's immediately going to be alongside. Also make some moves in the backline. I think it's Thurman trying to make it through while hanging into turn one, but there is McCutcheon storming in the lead for Haggis Racing, and that is a crucial blow right at the start. Thurman and Engelhardt still battling just in the background. I think Thurman's going to have the upper hand there. Great launch off the line for the German, and he does make up that one position, but McCutcheon doing what he needed there into the long turn one of this circuit, and Ming is going to have a car to overtake now, but he's got plenty of time to do it. 59 minutes to get back past later on in the event. Still Engelhardt leading the amateurs.
Yeah, great start by McCutcheon. Really what he needed to do after the advantage Ming had in that race. I have noticed Aldridge has fallen to the back of the field in the pro class, so he must have ran wide at turn one, but he's already on the back of the field and moving his way back through, as we see a spin there for John Tressida, and he has recovered whether there's any damage there. There's another spin in the background there for Bob Humphrey, who we saw going pretty well in qualifying, but he now has to recover from the back of the field, so it's all action on this opening lap.
Yeah, and also Chambers gets him past Engelhardt, so Engelhardt struggling a little bit. Chambers hasn't just gone off the track, at least some off tracks being picked up by him, but I think he's gone too wide that time, and Chambers going to do well to keep that out of the wall. We just see him in the background there, and he's giving up that place, and Beauchamp moves up to 6th position, so a decent start there for Beauchamp, in fact actually just getting back that place. But yeah, shame for the two Evo SR cars, Humphrey and Chester. Humphrey at least getting away without damage, and of course if the drivers do pick up damage, they can pick up a fast rev, but you, in this car in particular, you want to leave that spare if you possibly can, as Beauchamp is going to cross the chicane, I think. Well, in fact he's made that one very tricky for himself. Oh no, and off, it's another Evo SR car. It's Joseph Saul round. Again misses the wall like his teammate Humphrey, but that is sending him all the way to 20th position now.
Yeah, just a slight mistake, and it's what can happen at Suzuka. You just run a little bit wide out the corners, and it's like the grass draws you in, and before you know it, you'll be heading towards the wall. We've seen it many a time on the exit of that corner, but to spin into the actual entry of the pit lane is quite interesting. But we see now Ming and Hutchinson's just starting to pull away here. Ming keeping Hutchinson honest, and they're just pulling a gap away, and maybe looking to fight a little bit later on in the race, especially around Suzuka, where quite tight. You can't just slip up the inside of somebody and not lose time.
I think that's a very good shout, and McCutcheon and Ming, really smart drivers. They do so much racing in this car, and know what it takes to win. And certainly last season the slipstream effect in this car was absolutely huge, not anymore, but they would have learnt back in those days that battling in these early stages is not worth it. May as well just wait behind and see if there's an opportunity later on. Kev Copeland with a great start, by the way, up 6 places. Kev, one of the amateur drivers, one of the favourites for the title as well, despite not having a whole lot of experience in this car, has already, or is already a 2-time amateur champion in Apex Racing League Series, in the Porsche Cup Series and the GT Championship. Not necessarily the fastest driver, but yeah, gets in those good results. As McCutcheon feeling the need to go a bit defensive here as we head on to the long front straight, and well, maybe Ming was being patient for a lap and a half, but it seems as we move on to lap 3, he wants to take back that lead.
Yeah, Hutchinson obviously defending because he knows the pace that Ming had in practice and qualifying. He doesn't want to let him run away with the race, but Ming will now see that 3rd, 4th, and possibly 5th are just joining onto the back of his train now. And while we look at the back of Hutchinson's car, which actually says chill, it's a long race, for Ming, this first 5-10 minutes of the race could make all the difference to whether it's a dominating race by him or whether he gets mired in a battle with people he doesn't want to be near.
Yeah, and behind these guys, McDowell looking really quick. He's at the fastest first sector of the race on the last lap, and he improves on it again on this lap, admittedly. I think that's just the front straight and then maybe turn 1, I believe. So you get a bit of an advantage to do the drop. But if Thurman can get past Puticlitz, then he could really set off after the top 2. Can't quite get past at the moment. Tolman and Copeland are just running a little bit wide, I think. And also Beauchamp getting past Roggenton. So that's a good move there for Beauchamp. Another quality driver, particularly in qualifying. Driver having connection issues, I believe. Michael Tolman having connection issues, so that might be why he's moving about a bit on our time board. 2nd place out of the amateurs at the moment. Tolman, former GT4 driver actually in Apex Racing League history, and was very successful in that. I think may have won the amateur title, if I recall correctly. So yeah, quality driver is the Dutchman. As here comes Thurman, going to try to get past Puticlitz flat out, even in the draft, even through the turbulent air through 130R. But Puticlitz not feeling, Thurman not feeling confident enough to go for the move. But it looked like Puticlitz just ran a little bit wide, heading through the Casio triangle. I wonder if there will be a change for 3rd fairly soon. It seems like Puticlitz is just about safe.
Yeah, the new fastest lap again for Ming on that lap. Only just more than Hutchinson, but it's just pulling him away slightly as we look further back. And here's Graham Brown. He's having a look at making a move for the 9th place. Doesn't quite make it through there, but has to sit in behind. Aldridge, we saw him have problems on the opening lap. He has been into the pit, so he's off the back of the field now, and with a lot of work to do. But with this still 54 minutes to go, he can still make a difference in this race. Yes, yeah, should have opportunities later on perhaps. I'm just seeing the fuel capacity in this car, and I'm just thinking, I mean, if any radical experts are in the chat, I think you can do the whole race on 1 tank of fuel. Now, once again, this is a big setup, so they all start with only like 30 litres in the car, so you can't get to the end of the race from your starting fuel. But if you pit on the first lap and fill a full tank, I think you can get to the end. So it's not all bad for Aldridge. I mean, he'll be carrying a lot of fuel at the moment, and in these very light cars, that will be costing him a fair amount of time. But I don't think Aldridge will need to pit again in this race. So watch out for him to kind of get into the midfield by the end. If he's got some good pace, especially if these guys keep on fighting. Beauchamp trying to get past Saibas at the moment, the Lithuanian driver. Beauchamp will be fairly close at the end of this straight. You can see a little bit of damage on Saibas's car. That will be affecting the straight line speed, and Beauchamp will be very brave here to go for the move to the 130. And he thinks better of it, just going to try to wait behind and get him into the chicane. Yeah, it'd be a brave man to go up the inside of 130R, but Beauchamp had a slight look into the chicane, but realised he wasn't going to make it through, not close enough. Tried to get run out of the final corner down the straight, but it's not helped that Saibas also has the slipstream, but he's right up under his nose, all over him like a cheap coat. Will he look to the outside? Yes, he does, but Saibas just defends nicely down into turn 1. And if you can do that, if you could defend well around here, you could hold somebody off for quite a while. But around Suzuka, you sort of set the driver up in front. You get him out of position in one corner, and by the and that looks like contact between Beauchamp and Cybus. I'm not sure if it's contact or some sort of connection, but it looked like Cybus was punted into a spin there.
Yes, that's an odd place to... I looked away, but let's see if this was a proper move or whether it was just a mistake. Mainly a mistake, a bit of netcode as well. Of course, in this series, this is a league session, and so if the drivers are a bit aggrieved by an incident during the race, they can fill in a protest form, and a steward will have a look at any incident. As Myra Hraski drops to 12th position. He was ahead of Smith, so he was in 9th place. He's now dropped down to 12th place due to that mistake. And yeah, so if a driver is annoyed at something, they can report the incident, and an impartial steward will have a look at it after the race is complete. So yeah, that was penalty worthy, I'm sure they will receive a penalty for that. And of course, penalties can range from point penalties and also pit lane starts as well for future races in the season. Here is just the amateur standings. Engelhardt still leading the way, but not far ahead of Tolman. Copeland with all right pace at the moment. Copeland lapping about 0.4 of a second slower than Engelhardt and Tolman at the moment. You can just see him in the background there. And then also Aaron Smith, of course, a very experienced driver in a variety of leagues. Brown Rockington rounding out the top 6 in that one, but Engelhardt only 3.3 seconds off the lead. In fact, Engelhardt just set the fastest lap of the race. Not bad for an amateur driver.
Yeah, that's a cracking lap by Christian Engelhardt, and he will be looking to open his account with an amateur win. Obviously quite a short series, only 6 weeks long, so you will really not want to have a bad round, because the momentum will just keep building as the weeks go on if you come out with a good result from round 1. But Hutchinson now leads by 3 seconds. Beauchamp having a look into Degner. Oh, he's done so, but that sort of scared Brown off the circuit, and Brown loses another position to Hraski, as we see is that Rogentine behind, also just getting it sideways out of Degner too. So these radical cars just be catching the drivers out on this Suzuka circuit.
Yeah, and you identified it very early on in the broadcast that this Degner section would be a tricky part for the Jazz to go through, particularly when following another driver. And yeah, Rockington, I think, probably being put off himself from the incidents going on ahead. Joe Saul has had a problem, has he? Around the lap? Well, seems to say he managed to get the Degner all right, I think, on that occasion, but then a slight spin coming almost to a halt. Fortunately for Saul, not losing too much time, he remains in 19th place. The only two drivers to have made their pit stop so far, Tressida and Aldridge, and yeah, at least by my calculations, once you've made your pit stop, that is it for you. You can go to the end of the race. No tyre changes for these guys. It would just cost too much time to do so, so they'll be on the same set of tyres for the entire race, which will cause the car to get very skittish, because speaking from personal experience, in a 25-minute race the rears go off. In an hour-long race they are going to be very sketchy. The pace doesn't necessarily go away too much, but the car can become a bit snappy, as we see the gap that the top two are building up to 2 seconds now, the gap between first and third, and well, that graph very much shows that it's just little increments every single lap that the top two are able to pull away from the rest.
Yeah, it's just that little margin every now and again, but it's built over the last 12 minutes to the margin we have now, as Furman now is lining up a move for the final podium position. He could have probably took a dive there, but he's keeping his nose clean early on. It's what most of his drivers have. I think they've tried to settle into the series a bit more. I think we would have maybe seen a bit more action if this was round 2 or 3, but a lot of guys just sort of settling in, thinking, well, if I finish in 4th, it's not the end of the world already. It's round 1, and that's probably the thoughts going through a lot of drivers' mind initially in this race. By the second half of the race, it might be all different, depending how the first half has gone for them.
Yeah, as here comes Thurman. Oh, this is a great opportunity, because Pusaklis it's almost telling him to go for the move, but Thurman doesn't go for it. And Peter Cliss just well, focusing on his lines, and he's not losing much time to the leaders. Considering he has got a car so close behind, as we see Reeve and Youngblood have a close call through 130R. That was great action through there, and a good move for Jack Reeve. Up 5 places, Reeve. I thought Reeve would be a little bit further up than that, honestly. Usually not too far off his teammates Aaron Smith, but seemingly much better race pace as Bob Humphrey. He had a spin on the opening lap, just catching up to the orange liveried Dutch driver. Great act. I'm sure that is not accidental from Youngblood, as Chester's had another off, having a tough time of it. That's at Spoon Corner that Chester's had an off, and I believe Chester's already taken his fast repair, so he needs to make sure that he doesn't hit the wall at any point.
Yeah, it's a crucial thing with this. If you go and take your fast repairs, receivers in for... Oh, that was close there to taking out another driver, but he managed to keep it out the wall just about there, and Edel will look to move forward in this race now, as we now go back to the live action, and here we are with our 2 leaders, and again that gap has grown out to half a tenth. I think once Ming gets within sort of 3 tenths, a bit of the aero just slows him down a bit, as we see Copeland moving up. I think that's past Tolman for 7th place, so Copeland up into 2nd in the amateur class and looking to try and chase down Engelhardt now.
I think there's been a mistake there from Tolman, because that's an odd place to make a move, and really Tolman's been much faster than Copeland so far in this race. As is this the change for 3rd? No, it's not. Now Peter Cliss just gets it stopped every single time. I mean, this guy is cool as ice, and if he was it's the Latvian. Not sure any Latvian puns I can make, but I've got Google on my side, so that might be something that I do for future rounds. Humphrey, nearly being crowded out there. I think there was contact. You can see the deformation on the back of Youngblood's car. And Humphrey trying to get past, finds the inside line. I think that will be fairly easy from him from here on in. Just a reminder as well to everyone who's watching, if you want to take part in this series, do visit apexracingleague.com. and you can enter the final 5 rounds of the championship. You do get a drop score in this series, so the fact that it's 6 rounds, you do get a drop score though, and so even if you do miss the first round, you can still challenge for the amateur or the pro championships. So do make sure to go to apexracingleague.com, where you can see, despite that advantage, cannot quite get past, so it should make for a really interesting hour-long race because to go. But he has been able to catch up to Copeland, and I think we'll soon be making movers. Here was the mistake. So you can see he wasn't far behind Chambers before, and I think this mistake cost him the best part of about 5 seconds.
Yeah, just a half spin out of a slow hairpin there, and it just loses him a position, and like you say, about 5 seconds, but he's now looking to make his move again on Copeland, and he's through into the chicane and back into 2nd in class. But these guys are now 10 seconds behind Chambers, so if they're going to want to move forward in this group towards Engelhardt, who's leading the AM category, they're going to have to stop fighting and start working together. As
doesn't look like it's going to come to an end anytime soon. That's a brilliant move there from Kev Copeland. I'm surprised he's actually fighting this one. I thought he'd kind of wave on by Tom and recognise that he's faster, but he wants to keep track position, and well, seeing that it's so tricky to overtake, you can understand that, but all this batsing, you're saying, costing them time to the drivers ahead, it's costing them even more time to the drivers behind, because Beauchamp, who had an issue earlier on in the event, is on the tail. Smith is there as well. Hrasky is close in 11th, and even Brown, and of course Humphrey as well, quick driver, will be catching up behind, albeit I think that'll take him the best part of half the race to catch up. As a mistake there from Kev Copeland, and this is going to leave him vulnerable, and this is losing heaps of time, almost every corner at this point. And look at the move there from Beauchamp, trying to get underneath, couldn't quite happen, but Copeland seems to be struggling driving by himself, let's alone batsing the other drivers.
Yeah, it sometimes happens with drivers. They follow somebody for a certain amount of time, then they get in front. It's just so difficult to find your rhythm again sometimes, as we now see Ming even closer to Hutchinson. He's got to go for a move into a chicane here. He dives to the inside and nicely outbrakes McHutchinson. Keeps it inside the circuit, but will McHutchinson fight back along this main straight? Scottish Sultar just on the front of his car there. Very defensive by Ming as he goes across the line, but I think Ming will hold this down into turns 1 and 2.
Crucial move there as Copeland has had an off after defending so well, and Tolman as well, so it seems like the two of them have come together, and I gotta say that was kind of coming. Tolman, I think, making a beeline for the pits, so Beauchamp was at the back of this one, Tolman in the middle, Copeland at the front, and Copeland's going to lose it by himself. We already saw him, he was struggling with the rears, and then a bit of contact there with Tolman, and you know, making that contact on the rear corner will almost certainly cause you damage. So Tolman does the wise thing, pits, gets his pit stop done, he can go to the end of the race from here, picks up his fast repair, and still not ideal for him, and will be a bit further down the order now because of it, and we'll have to burn higher fuel to the end of the race. So McHutchinson, well, let's see if he can keep up with him, because we expect being close, certainly being as close as McHutchinson is, should be a disadvantage. The turbulent air should affect you more than the slipstream. But so far McHutchinson's doing a good job at it, and well, maybe he'll surprise us and might be able to stay close to me, because he didn't seem to defend that move so much heading into 130R.
No, I think after seeing the qualifying result, but he's still with Ming after 22 minutes, he'll call a success, and hopefully now he's right behind Ming, he'll maybe learn a couple of things to up his pace even more. That group are now 3.3 seconds ahead of this group for third place, with Engelhardt really keeping the third and fourth place honest, and could be on for an overall podium at this rate. He's really driving brilliantly down onto the lap 13 of the race, and he's just keeping them two honest, keeping them battling, and they're just not, they're sort of being dropped by the top two now, so this is a true battle just for third place right now.
Yeah, and I do wonder what Thurman could be doing. A driver who we see, in fact, all these drivers we've seen in the strength of field race, certainly the top four. Engelhardt maybe not so much, but certainly Beauchamp we see, and Huraski we've seen in that, and a couple of others down the order, certainly John Aldridge as well. So we kind of know that Thurman's a quick driver, not necessarily I would associate his pace with Ming and McHutchinson, but he has really not let Peter Place off for this whole time. But Peter Place just doesn't make a mistake. He missed an apex on about lap 2 of the race. I think that's it. So far, every other time we've been watching him, at least, he just doesn't seem to be making mistakes. But Thurman is all over the back of him. He's covering him like a blanket right now, and yeah, he is surely not far away from an overtake. Could go for an early pit stop, of course, but the extra fuel you take will cost you time, of course, in the meantime, whilst your opponents are on very low fuel, as Huraski and Smith are currently battling with one another. This is Smith going for the move on Huraski. Huraski doing a good job at the moment, defending, taking the shorter line to Spoon Corner, and he holds on, keeps that 8th place, does the Slovenian.
Yes, we're now watching the battle for third place, and it looks like Thurman's having a look. I think he's getting a little bored of looking at the back end of third place Radical, as we now see Aaron Smith again alongside that Huraski again. It says, yes, it is down through 130R, and they've actually kept it quite clean into the chicane, and this battle will continue, but they are dragging Graham Brown into it. Bob Humphrey, oh, slightly sideways there into the chicane, but he makes a pass on Job Load, and through comes Sybas, I think, as well. No, not quite. So a good little battle here for about 4th, 5th in the amateur class, which will still be good points before. Oh, we've got a spinner for Ming.
Yeah, Ming from the race lead. Can he hold on to any of these positions? No, he's going to drop down to 4th place. Crucially stays ahead of Engelhardt. But what a mistake that is from Kike Ming, who'd worked hard to get into the lead of the race, had built up a gap over this pack. But now, probably making the same mistake as we saw earlier on from another driver. He has really lost the momentum. You can see he was making a small gap over McCutcheon, but McCutcheon was keeping tabs on him, and then, well, he didn't even dip onto the grass, I think, but on that curve, and McCutcheon did an expert job at taking evasive action. You can see Ming just drafting to the side of the circuit, trying to hold off those places. It's the natural reaction, but couldn't do it, and drops down to 4th place, and surely makes John McCutcheon the favourite for this race, where now we see the onboard from the 114, and yeah, just that slight contact with the curb, losing him that adhesion with the circuit.
Yeah, to be fair, that was a great save by Ming, as he now goes up the inside of Berman for 3rd place on recovery drive already. But that was quite well skilled to keep that out the wall, because it would be so easy to go crunch on the left-hand side with the front end. But we know he has the pace to close up the gap. He lost 4 seconds of pace on that lap. So for a spin that dramatic, but only 4 seconds, that's pretty good going, to be fair. And he'll be glad of that recovery, and that he's still in the race with relatively no damage.
Yeah, he's only 2.9 seconds off the lead, which, yeah, it's not too bad for him whatsoever. That was a good move there on Thurman, who you can see it for a while back, because Thurman just seems to be so cautious on the brakes heading into the Cassier triangle. I've seen him a couple of times have the opportunity to pull the pin on Putzeklis, but just backs out of it, and well, that time it was very much his weakness, as Putzeklis is sliding about, and this is the rear tyres, which I'm surprised. I've heard from drivers that they can go the full hour, but I'm honestly surprised they can go the whole hour, because they really do get sketchy at this point. And remember, in the official series lasts about this length, 27.5 minutes. That's what the official series length will be approximately. So this is almost unknown territory. Obviously the drivers would have done practice, but on the most part they won't have experience driving this SR8 on this age tyres. So it will be really interesting to see how they manage to cope with it. And of course we're not too far away from the drivers running out of fuel and needing to come into the pits to get a top up, as here comes Ming already on the back of Putzeklis, who's on the inside hanging into 130R. Putzeklis waits for 130R, and surely Thurman's going to have an opportunity here. He goes to the outside, looks to the inside. Now this is his opportunity, because he does brake later than Putzeklis this time round. They are alongside, heading through the Cassier triangle. There's contact between the two of them, and Thurman has to take evasive action. Engelhardt now with the opportunity, and he might get into the overall podium positions in just a moment, because Putzeklis' exit was compromised, and now it's Engelhardt, the German, moving alongside the 218, heading up into 3rd position, but still defending brilliantly is Putzeklis, and he holds on. So great effort there, and it's Thurman, the big loser out there, because he drops down to 6th position in this train.
Yeah, I think Engelhardt was thinking of his amateur lead there. It was he had a chance up the inside, but if it was later in the race, maybe he would have tried to make it stick. But Putzeklis doing a great job of defending after Ming coming through. Not sure braking in the middle of 130R is the smartest idea, but he held onto the position, and it's dropped Thurman down behind Chambers. Unfortunately, I think Tresida has retired. He's 5 laps down in the pits now, so I presume we won't see him back out. And that leaves 21 radicals remaining in this race.
Yeah, shame to see that for Chester. Not sure if it was a second instant, or maybe just not wanting to continue. Loader is into the pits. Now Loader, this is possibly the first scheduled pit stop of the race, dare I say, because I don't really know any other reason why Loader would come into the pits, but yeah, he wants to get some more fuel in that car, and so maybe that's an indicator that we might see all the race leaders pitting quite soon. Particularly that train of 4 might be worth pitting a bit earlier on, as you can see the gap that Ming has got over Putzeklis, over 2 seconds. Ming slightly faster than McCutcheon on that last lap, and actually the gap was at about 2.8 seconds, I think, at the start of this lap, down to 2.4, so I think he'll be able to take another few tenths of a second out this time. Not a bad lap there for McCutcheon, a 52.8. But yeah, Ming with a real nice time, 52.5, only a fraction of a second off his best lap of the race, as both Puticus and Thurman come into the pits. I'm sure Thurman cannot believe his luck, because he spent the whole race looking at the back of Puticus's car, and even when he comes into the pits, he cannot avoid the rear end of that machine.
Yeah, I think Thurman will be drawing it in his sleep tonight and be able to tell you every single technical drawing of the rear end of that Radical. He's been all over the back of it, and now he's in the pit straight behind it as well. So he may have another half an hour of sitting behind it. But we now have a move there for Cybus, who comes past Humphrey, so that's an amateur passing pro driver. And they're having quite a good scrap over 11th place now. But we are, just like you said before, we're in that pit stop stage now. And here comes Puticus and Thurman out in the same order. And we'll have to see how they build up as everybody else pits.
Yeah, barely any difference in pit stop stationing times for them. 23.8 for Puticus, 23.1 for Thurman, but it didn't seem like Thurman could make up any time. That's the stationary time, by the way, the 23 seconds. Their pit stop transit time may differ. Also, Aldridge with a 23.3 stationary, so that's very much the range. So if anyone's going over 24 seconds, then you've got to be questioning why they're putting so much fuel into the car. Good lap actually this for McHutchinson. Sector 1 matching, Sector 2 lost a little bit, Sector 3, Sector 4 a little bit faster though for McHutchinson. So Ming not able to make those roads in, and well, McHutchinson actually matching that time. It's Ming who couldn't quite match his previous best laps, but it's still a 52.6, which is the fastest of anyone on track in the gap, down to 2.2 seconds now, as we see Jack Reeve with a problem. I'm not sure if he's hit the wall there, but he's made a common mistake coming out of Spoon.
Yeah, if you just get on that curb on the outside, which I'm expecting to see. Oh no, he loops it well before the curb, and he manages to keep it out of the wall by the looks of things to rejoin. But there's a lot of little mistakes coming in as we see Kev Copeland into the pits. We saw a mistake from Kev early in the race, but he's now running in 12th place. And Joseph Soul also joins pit lane visitors. So they are both in with people slowly moving up. But Hutchinson not pitting just yet. And I'd expect him to sit in there until Ming pits, really. Let Ming make the first move, because he's not really losing a huge amount of time. So if Ming pits, you pit the lap later and you should be out in front.
Yeah, I think that's certainly the wise thing to do from the Haggis Racing drivers' perspective. By the way, quick shout outs to SDK Gaming for sponsoring this broadcast and offering some super prizes as well to the drivers. The top drivers in the teams and the drivers' championships, I think, get a range of 1 month to 1 year subscriptions to SDK Gaming, which is an absolutely awesome prize. We use it, of course, for our overlay up on screen, all provided by SDK Gaming. You can do so much customization with it. It really makes our leagues that much better that we broadcast as McHutchinson is into the pits. But it's also fantastic as well as a heads-up display, because in this situation, it can tell you when to come into the pits. It has a fuel calculator and everything, and so it can really figure out your strategy whilst you're on the move, which can really help you in situations such as these. So if you want to get yourself signed up, do visit sdk-gaming.co.uk in order to get yourself a 14-day free trial, as loads of drivers coming into the pit. So Ming and Chambers able to just save that extra lap of fuel seemingly, so going a bit further, but everyone else going to make a pit stop on this lap 18 of the race.
Yeah, we've got a whole train of cars in the pits. Cybus also carries on, but he won't pit and come out in front of anybody who's in the pits now. He'll pull back down when he does pit. McHutchinson comes out 24.8 pit stop time, Engelhardt with 24.4, and Puticus with 23.7. So that puts Puticus back ahead of Engelhardt, but Thurman doesn't quite make it through. So the base leader of the race so far will be McHutchinson, laps, we've seen the pit lane time be around 50 seconds or so. So being 45 seconds behind, he'll be back into the lead.
Yeah, he should be, but that stationary time for McCutcheon, a bit concerning. 24.8 is one of the longest stationary times we've seen so far today. And Ming was only 2 seconds behind at the time, so if he can get this pit stop under 23 seconds, which so far hasn't been done by Jaitu, but well, Rockington only took 21.9, but I feel like that's very much an exception. But yeah, Ming basically needs a quick pit stop here, and he might be able to bring back the lead. Also, it'll be really interesting to see if Chambers can move up at all, as Ming really pushes the pit entry there. He'll be lucky not to pick up a penalty for that. But yeah, Chambers might be up ahead of Puterklis if his kind of extra laps that he's done have been strong enough. So this is about to get very exciting here. McCutcheon going flat out. He'll realise the stakes, and he'll realise as well that if he can just fend off this attack from Ming, fend off the strategy difference, then he'll have a good chance at holding him off out on circuit for the end of the race. The top three, as expected, all into the pits. And McCutcheon still rounding the track. Ming up to 17, 18. It's under 22 seconds we're looking for. 21, 22. In fact, it's a decently long pit stop. It's a 24.38, so it's not going to be enough to get ahead of McCutcheon. It will close the gap slightly, I think, but it's not enough. Where is Chambers in the background? Can he move up to 3rd position? No, he's going to be a little bit short, and I think he's going to come out in 5th position, just behind Puterklis and Engelhardt. He wasn't far off, but his 24.5 second pit stop wasn't quite enough to get ahead. So not really a whole lot of change there. I think the only change being maybe Puterklis. Well, no, I think it's all stayed exactly the same. In fact, at least in that top 6.
Yeah, I think that gap was helped to be closed as Ming had the final pit in the pit lane, so he didn't really have to think about putting the pit lane spin limiter on when he come out of his pit box. He just had to floor it because the line was straight in front of his pit box, so that's helped close the gap to under 2 seconds. Beauchamp has moved up to 7th ahead of Smith and Haraski, and Aldridge, who we saw pit early on, is up into 10th place now. So fingers crossed, hopefully by our maths, he won't have to pit again, and he's got himself back into this race, only 29 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, great effort there from Aldridge, and I didn't think he might get back into the midfield, but I didn't think he'd be up to 10th place this early on. He could certainly catch up to Haraski, maybe Smith as well by the end of the race. An 8th place for Aldridge would be a really good result for the privateer in this one. But with 21 minutes and 40 seconds to go, we kind of have the set or the scene set for us, and we'll see what narrative plays out from here on in. Engelhardt running a little bit wide, and Chambers is really close here to be able to make a move. Fortunately for Engelhardt, he's still got a bit of a drop on Puterklis just ahead, so it's as though Chambers is going to have to wait behind. He's going to be pretty much as close as you can be into turn 1, but it's not enough. Quick shouts out once again to Apex Racing Academy as well, who provide... so we've got a spin for Smith. That is a problem for him. He was running up in 8th place, but Aaron Smith having issues there and drops outside the top 10. But yeah, big shout out to Apex Racing Academy, who are also providing some great prizes for the top teams and drivers in this series. Apex Racing Academy with 29 data packs, providing, yeah, that's 29 different cars basically covered by Apex Racing Academy. And those cars range from single-seaters to prototypes to rallycross cars even. So if you want to get yourself a subscription to that, do visit apexracingac.com. Their setup sync technology is absolutely awesome as well. Really takes their ease out of yeah, uploading setups and whatever. So yeah, big thanks to them, and do check out their website. The link is in the description below, as we see actually the continuation of Smith's mistake, and that was him just staying ahead of Kev Copeland right now.
Yeah, it's just an easy mistake out the chicane. We've seen that before by other drivers, and a nice clean recovery by Smith, but obviously losing positions. We're looking back at the battle for 4th place now. Puterklis is a little bit up the road, not by much, but he is just enough to be out of this battle for now, and Engelhardt has to decide whether to keep this AM position or the overall position, because these two pro drivers right behind, does he want to get into a fight with them, as we see Chambers having a slight look at Engelhardt, putting him in under pressure, looking in his mirrors, and it's going to give Chambers a great run down pit straight now. He heads to the inside of the track, gets a slipstream off Pudakis, and it could be both of them past Engelhardt here, but will Engelhardt want to fight both? No, he doesn't. He understands he's got his AM championship to think about, and it's just much better to let them go at this stage and try and hang on to the back of them.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, Finn. The decision to just drop to the back of this one. So Chambers up to 4th place now. Chambers, who a driver who I didn't really expect to necessarily be right at the front in this race. Not a whole lot of experience in this car, I believe, as Aldridge has just got past Hiraski. However, he's running wide though, and so Aldridge drops back behind Hiraski, and now Tolman is close by to him. But yeah, Chambers doing a bit better than I thought, honestly, and yeah, running really well in that 4th position, well ahead of his teammates Copeland and Humphrey in 14th and 15th place. As oh dear, I think I've just commentator cursed Chambers there.
I think that's the first curse of the season.
I think it is. Dear me, hopefully this isn't a thing. As well, was he hit here by Thurman, who was behind him? No, it's all by himself. Loops it round, and a bit of contact as well in the front of Thurman's car. And well, all I can say, Matt, is I'm very sorry.
Yeah, I think we've just proved the commentator curse will never go away from any driver or any commentator. And it's just a light little spin, but with both drivers right behind him, he was obviously going to lose the positions. Back at the front, McHutchinson holding a gap at a second to Ming. Ming a couple of tenths of a second quicker, as we see a spin for Copeland again. So he's all in the action here tonight. That's up at Spoon Corner. And I predict he gets the first bit right, but just runs wide. Runs wide on the first bit, catches the curb, and just around it goes as he tries to accelerate into the second part of the Spoon Corner. So another spin, another recovery for Kev Copeland down in 15th place.
And we seem to be seeing so many drivers make mistakes with kind of looping the car around. So I think they're really struggling at this point in the race. I believe in this car you've got to take the tyres separate to the fuel. And so no one took tyres at their pit stop. They all just took the fuel and went back out there. And yeah, so really feeling it right now. Engelhardt has made a mistake, and that could be significant for the amateur lead. Oh, he's hit the wall here, and I can only hope for Engelhardt's benefit that he's remembered to not tick the fast repair button when he came into the pits, because even if you don't have damage, you will use up that fast repair. But here it was. Oh man, that is that's a bit of an odd one there. You almost just understeered out and couldn't keep control of the car, and hitting the wall like that, I think will require some repairs here. It might lose him the amateur race win.
Yeah, that was just unfortunate for Engelhardt. Just tried to keep up with Chambers and Furman in front because the gaps had spaced out just that little bit more, and just pushing too hard into the Degner corners, and that's what happens there. If you go off, you just get sucked into that wall, and we've seen many a chassis written off in that wall over time. But Ming now got the lead down to 0.6 of a second, and consistently 2 or 3 tenths quicker than Hutchinson over the last few laps. Is just closing that gap down, and over the last 15 minutes of this race, Hutchinson is going to have some work to do to claim the opening win of this season.
Yeah, and he's won a few races, has McHutchinson, pretty much all located in the UK actually. Well, I think 2 out of 3 located in the UK, one at Brands Hatch and Silverstone in the Strength of Field official series race. Oh, that's a massive slide there for McHutchinson. Wow. Well, that's almost identical to what Ming did earlier on. And well, that just shows how much he is pushing right now. And another side as well, he's overheated the tyres, and this is proper pressure point now because Ming is right on the tail now of the race leader. Does he go for it into the hairpin? I think Mick Hutchinson was looking forward to having a couple more laps of freedom out there, but those mistakes have cut what little was left of the gap. And Ming has got 15 minutes to make the move. Now, we said earlier on in the race, he had 59.5 minutes to make the move when he lost the lead heading into turn 1. Well, he's used up most of that time, but still 15 minutes to go is plenty of time to get this one done.
Yeah, Mick Hutchinson just about saving it from making the same mistakes as Ming in corner just before the Degners, and had the reactions of a cat to save it twice in 3 corners. But Ming right up rear wing of Mick Hutchinson now through 130R. Will he be able to keep it pinned? He does, and he's going to have a run round the outside into the chicane. Mick Hutchinson defends. Ming goes right round the outside, holds it tight. The 2 drivers still side by side as they come out of the chicane, and Mick Hutchinson just about holds on. But this is going to give Ming a good run out of the corner. Mick Hutchinson goes tight to the pit wall, says to Ming, if you're going to go round, you need to copy Kimi Räikkönen. So as he head down to the first corner, he heads to the outside. The drivers still side by side. And they do touch slightly into turn 2, but Ming's got the inside for turn 3. And still side by side as Mick Hutchinson has the inside for the next corner. Will Ming keep to the inside? No, he doesn't, and backs out of it. And Mick Hutchinson continues to lead. What a great few corners of side by side action.
Well, we can only hope we see more racing like that for the next 5 races because, well, that was absolutely exceptional. Great respect shown by the two of them. They always left room for one another, and they were effectively side by side from the Cascade Triangle all the way halfway through up the S's section as well. So Mick Hutchinson holds off the first attack. Still got a few more to defend from, but at least he's got those tyres back cooled down again and should have a bit more grip coming out of these traction areas. They've got 7.2 seconds to boost close, so they can battle as much as they like. As long as they don't hit each other off the circuit, they will hold on to the top 2 positions in this race. As Ming once again lining it up, he looks considerably faster, much faster than Mick Hutchinson. Than he has been, or at least his advantage seems bigger now than it has been for the entire race. And coming out of Spoon Corner, he is super close. Less than 0.2 of a second now is the gap. Will he go for the move heading into 130R, or will he just hesitate? He's just going to hesitate and try it again into the Casio Triangle.
Yeah, he's right back in exactly the same position, but Mick Hutchinson doesn't defend. Ming goes to the inside. He will go for the inside of the chicane this time. Mick Hutchinson still runs it out and keeps the lead. It's a good run out the corner for Ming. Mick Hutchinson will go tight to the pit wall yet again. Oh, he doesn't. He's left the gap for Ming, and that could be a mistake by Mick Hutchinson. I'm not sure why he's done that when he knows Ming's right behind him. Ming's to the inside and through into the lead, and Mick Hutchinson just made a mistake not defending like he did on the previous lap.
Yeah, and that's all that Kike Ming needed. He's back into the lead. The pole sit to the man who took the lead as well. About 20 minutes into the race, and as long as he doesn't make a mistake like he did earlier on, he should be safe because, at least judging by the time since the pit stops, kind of the last 15 minutes or so of this race, it seems like Ming is much faster than Mick Hutchinson, has a good 3 or 4 tenths of a second on him. So even with the draft effect, I don't think Mick Hutchinson will be able to stay as close as he was earlier on. But saying that, it's actually Ming who understood slightly through the second Degner. The Scottish driver is staying somewhat close. Peter Close and Thurman are also closing down on one another in third and fourth. Still Chambers in a safe 5th. And really Haraski and Tolman, the only other batsman I really see out there, as Thurman's made a mistake, and this is going to allow Chambers back through, it seems. So Chambers up to 4th place, Engelhardt not close enough to take advantage. In fact, because Engelhardt we were talking about had damage, and Engelhardt's actually decided to stay out on track. He's going to try not to take any repairs, but he is going to drop behind Beauchamp soon, so do keep an eye on that on the timing tower. But out in the lead, this battle is not going to an end anytime soon, and it's Mick Hutchinson now within passing range.
Yeah, Mick Hutchinson's learnt everything which Ming will try and pull into the chicane, and Ming has learnt everything Mick Hutchinson will try and pull. So it's probably going to be a bit of a surprise move somewhere if he can pull one off. bit further back, Aldridge up to that 8th place we mentioned earlier, which is a brilliant drive by him. He's actually 1 place ahead of his grid position now, as Engelhardt now falls behind Beauchamp, and it looks like he made another mistake there. That car looking very second hand, but he still has a 16-second lead over second in class. And I think while the overall podium looked a nice idea for Engelhardt, he's now put his championship head on and decided, right, the car's damaged, I'll get it to the end and win the class.
Yeah, and he should be all right to do that because he's only losing 1 second a lap to Tolman on the most part. Yeah, only 1 second a lap. Aldridge probably won't catch fast enough. Aldridge maybe 1.5 seconds faster per lap, but yeah, a few points escaping Engelhardt's there, but he'll still be positive heading into the rest of the season as the big favourite for the Amateur Championship, I think, from here on in. And yeah, that 16 seconds should be enough for him. Out in the lead, Minks just pulled away slightly, so the gap's up to 1 second. I think that was a mistake there from Hutchinson, and this is really the biggest the gap has been for a while, and that might just be the break that Ming needed to take this race wing as we catch Haraski. Oh, Haraski off the circuit here, and he's going to drop behind Tolman and Cyrus, who's got absolutely no grip of the circuit whatsoever, and Smith has followed him in, and Smith will be able to get ahead there, and well, that's a remarkable moment. Smith must have been put off here because he's made the identical mistake.
Yeah, I think Smith just followed him in there. Maybe he felt it looked a bit lonely and wanted to help him build a sandcastle out there, but Smith hit him the wall a lot harder than Haraski. He may get out first, but he's got a lot more damage, and that has dropped those two drivers down to 16th and 13th, respectively, as we can see the battle here between the 260 and Haraski. It's Strubblong getting past Haraski on his recovery. And there's a few drivers here who'll be looking back at this race thinking, well, if I hadn't made them 2 mistakes, I might have been a lot higher. But I think there's only Hutchinson and Duliglis who we can say we haven't seen off the circuit yet.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, actually. Yeah, really tricky for the drivers tonight as Tolman defending more. Here comes Cybas around the outside. And can he get past? No, there's contact between the two of them, and well, I'm not sure who that's going to affect more. We've now got Brown right on the tail. We haven't spoken too much about Graham Brown so far tonight, but back in his starting position. He might be on for a top 9 at the moment, but Tolman really defending resolutely, maybe pushing out a bit too wide on Cybas that time, but yeah, he's kept that 9th position for the time being, and Cybas, just hope they hasn't got too much damage after that contact. Aaron Smith back to the pit, and well, it seems as though that's the end of Smith's day because he'd already taken his faster pair, I believe. So Aaron Smith with probably not going to even be scoring any points then for round 1 of the championship.
Yeah, it won't be the greatest start to his championship challenge. He was running quite well, as we see a sideways moment for Tolman, and all that hard work to get past has been undone, and Cybas is through past both drivers in this last lap. So Cybas on the move and up into 2nd in the amateur class. And to be fair, I'm not even sure he's been in the top 3 all through this race, but you don't have to be. You only have to be in the top 3 when you finish the race. Tolman's wide again, and that's going to give Brown a run into the 130R corner. The 2 radicals go side by side down the back straight, and who will decide to give way when we get to 130R? Neither of them, and there's contact, and off goes Tolman, and that was pretty inevitable once you saw them, that neither were going to give way.
Yep, and he drops behind the 2 Evo SR cars of Humphrey and Copeland, so disappointing there for Tolman. He was running so well earlier on, but some setbacks, and this is the biggest one of all of them. And yeah, big risk going around the outside there. Certainly missing the apex though was Brown, and I wonder if there will be a penalty for that after the race. So it's certainly been an action-packed final 15 minutes of this event. Final shout out to Virtual Racing School, by the way, another sponsor for this series. and Virtual Racing School, offering over 50 data packs for a variety of cars, and across those data packs cover not only road racing but also oval racing as well. Setups, track guides, one-on-one coaching, data analysis software, all included with a Virtual Racing School. And really, everyone who I've heard has used Virtual Racing School always says how great the telemetry software, the data analysis software is. Really does allow you to pinpoint where you're losing time to the pro drivers. And they can you can really find a few extra tenths of a second using that mechanism. So so big thanks to Virtual Racing School, and do visit them if you're interested in improving your performance on iRacing, as Chambers was able to pull ahead of Thurman because Thurman made a mistake at the hairpin, but the Herzog Motorsports driver has been able to catch back up again, and this battle for 4th place is back on.
Yeah, he's caught him very quickly on this last lap. Only 2 attempts actually, sorry, on that last lap. He's caught back onto the closest battle on the circuit, because Hutchinson is fluctuating between 7 tenths and a second behind Ming, and doesn't seem to be closing up now. So I think the battle for lead will, unless there's a mistake, obviously, is over. As Cybas, we're just praising him for getting into the top 3 in class, and he's made a mistake coming out of a chicane by the looks of it, spun to the opposite side of the track to everybody else, and he's down to 11th place. So let's have a look here. He just goes into a chicane, looking quite comfortable, nobody else around. And does he just, he just loops it round and spins it to the inside and has to go through the gravel to get back out. And that falls to 11th and 3rd in class, so he's still hanging on just ahead of Copeland.
Yeah, that's a shame for him. So Brown up to 2nd place now in the AMSAs. What a great evening this is for Graham Brown. Really good for him, and also a few free positions for Humphrey. He's had a tricky meeting as Humphrey, but he's one of the few drivers who hasn't. Well, he did have an off to in the first few laps, but since then, at least in the second half of the race, he hasn't seemingly made a mistake. So Thurman right on the tail now of Chambers, and this is kind of the move that he's been setting up for a few laps now. He seems to have really good straight line speed, Thurman, and remember, this is a fixed setup too, so there's no difference in the setup, but maybe just a little bit less damage, I'm not quite sure, but I know he seems to be gaining a bit more than what we've seen from most riders. You can actually see the damage on the front of Chambers' car, so that's probably got something to do with it, as they are absolutely within touching distance heading through the final chicane. Thurman's that bit closer than he was on the last lap, closes the gap by 6/100ths of a second, and he should be able to make it alongside heading into turn 1. Chambers covers off the inside line well, and he's going to have to make Thurman wait one more lap. But I think we've got this lap and one more lap to go before the checkered flag.
Yeah, this is the closest battle we'll see on circuit for 4th place. Poulikis up in 3rd, not looking challenged. He's 5 seconds ahead of this group now. But Hutchinson got the back gap down at 7 tenths, but Ming could be just controlling that now. And then behind this group, there's a 9-second gap to Beauchamp, who's just ahead of Engelhardt and Aldridge. So not too many battles out on circuit at this moment for crucial positions, but except for maybe Cybus and Humphrey for the top 10. But this is the main one where Chambers is defending well against Furman, who, like we said before, could draw the back of a Radical so well after this race. He'll do it in his sleep and blindfolded and who knows what, but he just seems to be stuck behind somebody's rear wing at some point in this race.
Yeah, it was Poulikis for really the first 40 minutes of this event, and then Chambers really ever since. Oh, has Thurman got past? Maybe a slight bad exit there for Chambers. He's not giving up on this one day. He's going to try to come back again. Now, the last time we saw side by side into 138 did not end well. Chambers doing the wise thing there. He's a little bit wide as well, not to lose grip on the outside tyres there. So the white flag is out. One more lap to decide this battle for 4th place. Still fairly close out in the lead as well, but this is much closer to a move, I think, as Chambers lining this one up. He's really got to go for it now, and yeah, well, his straight line speed doesn't seem to be too bad now, to be fair. That damage not affecting him too much, opening up the gap on the inside though. He's got confidence on the outside. Is that confidence well placed though? I'm not sure if it is, because he has just gone slightly onto the marbles and Chambers is pulling ahead. And despite the good move by Thurman ending into 130R this time, it is Chambers who gets up into 4th place, and this is going to go down to the last corner.
Yeah, I think Thurman was running behind Chambers thinking he had a lot more straight line speed than the Brit, and then decided that he didn't need to defend into turn 1, but Chambers was having absolutely none of it and was not going to let Thurman rest. Moves back into 4th place, and there's not a huge amount of overtaking positions around the rest of this lap. They're all quite fast corners, so Thurman's really going to have to spring a surprise on Chambers, maybe into the chicane. But we now see Kiki Ming into the spoon corner and heading down the back straight with just 130R and the chicane to go, whereas Hutchinson is just not giving up until the final corner.
Yeah, he has given Ming a fantastic run for us, man. We've seen these two go head-to-head so many times in the official series. It's awesome to see them go head-to-head for a full hour-long event. But it looks as though the man who's going to take first blood in this Apex Racing League Radical Championship Series is going to be the Spaniard. It's Kike Ming who rounds the final corner, and he wins at Suzuka and takes the championship lead. John McHutchinson only 4/10 of a second behind, who is going to finish in 4th place. Pusaclis is going to get 3rd place. Chambers on the inside. Chambers spins right at the close. Thurman will take home a very well-deserved 4th position. Chambers will keep 5th, so he didn't lose too much, to be fair, from fighting that battle. But Thurman will be delighted with that one. He did finish behind his arch nemesis, Pusaclis, but it's not a bad result. Engelhart's had a problem right at the end. Is he in the wall? No, he's been able to keep it out of the wall. Well, Brand isn't close enough to take advantage. Aldridge will get 7th. Engelhart's in 8th. And top of the amateurs, but it could have been a bit better there for the German driver. And still there's battling going on down the order, because Huraski is behind Youngblood, and also Tolman is at the back of this one. Tolman down in 15th place, just missing out a few seconds and maybe getting a top 10, but he will finish a very disappointing 15th there. Reeve and Saul, the last drivers on the lead lap. What a fantastic round 1 to the championship, Dave. That was really only a battle we can really pray for, as well, look at Saul, he's trying to get past Reeve. Oh no, Saul is the last spinner, and yeah, makes another mistake. But so no, that lead for that battle for the lead, Dave, only something that we could really wish for to have once this season, let alone in the first round of the championship, because they were so evenly matched. But yeah, a great drive from the pair.
Yeah, a great drive, especially from Ming after his mistake. McHutchinson, one of the only drivers we didn't see spinning off at some point. 3rd place for Pulikis, who had to defend for a long time in that race from Thurman, who fell back later on into the clutches of Chambers, who was lucky to get away with that half spin. Beauchamp in 6th. John Aldridge, a great drive after that early pit stop, to 7th. Christian Engelhardt getting away with a couple of spins to win the AM class ahead of Graham Brown, and Bob Humphrey rounded out the top 10.
Yeah, and then it was Thomas Seabass in 11th position. Kev Copeland was in 12th and 4th place out of the amateurs in the end. Mitchell Youngblood was in 13th. There was Maya Haraski, Marco Tolman, Jack Reeve, Joseph Saw, Moritz Roggentan in 18th place, top of the drivers who finished 1 lap down. And the other drivers were Wolfgang Loader and Zach Edel. Those are the drivers who will score points. Smith being 5 laps down and Chester 22 laps down, they will not score points. So shame for them, shame for Zem Racing, honestly, for that first round of the championship. Of course, if you've enjoyed watching this race, then take part. You know, you can still sign up for the remaining rounds of the championship. 5 more meetings to go, same time every week, 6 weeks in a row, of course. And yeah, you can take part in this event. It's not just 1 hour long races as well. We get a couple of 25-minute races in some of the meetings this season, which I'm particularly looking forward to, reverse grids and everything. So if you want to take part, visit apexracingleague.com. and yeah, you can sign up, and of course you can check out all our other series as well that we host. There's also a link to our Discord in the description below, which is the best place to see any announcements to do with Apex Racing League. We will have a chat now. Well, we've got our top 2, which is an absolute pleasure. I would first like to have a chat with, however, our race winner, Kike Ming, who now joins us in the commentary box. Congratulations, Kike. You've had so many battles in the Radical over the years, but I imagine this one must rank as one of your top ones, because that battle with John was absolutely terrific.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, it was a great race. I had a slide and then go back to 4th position, but then I could recover and close the gap between John, and then we have a nice battle in the first lap for Suzuka that are great corners.
Absolutely, yeah. It looked as though a lot of drivers were struggling with the tyres near the end of the race. Of course, you guys aren't used to, running the tyres this long. What do the tyres feel like at the end of an hour-long race like this?
Well, I did great training before this race, so I knew before the start that I will continue with the old tires, and I managed to keep the low 53s, and I think that was the clue to get the win.
Definitely, yeah. Sticking with the same tires was, a very smart decision in the end. We've got some fantastic tracks that we're visiting this season. The next one up is the Red Bull Ring, which, of course, will be visited in the official series as well. Never raced that track in the Radical before. What are your thoughts on that circuit coming up?
Well, I'm eager to this race to come, because it's one of my favorite tracks, and the fact that there are 2 sprint races is I think is better for me, because I'm not really good at focusing on a race, so that short races will be better for me. So yep. Let's keep going like that, and see you on next Wednesday.
Yes, that will be very good to see you back next week. Kike, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, of course. I would like to shout out my friends that are supporting me each races, and my family that like to watch his son on TV, so great shout out to them.
Awesome. Well, we will see you back for round 2 of the championship next time, Kike.
Okay, see you, and thank you for the broadcast.
Kike Ming there, your race winner tonight. Who would you like to have a chat with, Dave?
I think we'll have to speak to John Hutchinson and see what his side of the battle was.
So, no complaints.
So, John, you are 2nd place in the opening round of the season. What were your thoughts on the race in general? Because we saw Kike on pole by 0.3 of a second at first, and a lot of the assumption might have been very pulled away, but you made a very good start.
Yeah, qualifying, Kike was miles ahead of the rest of us, so it was just trying to get ahead of him on the start and keep him behind me for as long as possible, maybe burn up his tyres. But I think he was just playing with me, really, and saving fuel, I think. But I'm absolutely delighted with 2nd place. I didn't run well last week at Suzuka, so I done well tonight.
What were your thoughts when you saw him half spin off at the top of the S's, did you think this could be my race now?
No, I thought I was running into him. I had to shit myself. So I was glad we just missed and carried on. But I was hoping that when he got in the pack he would get held up a bit, but he got by him pretty quick. So
Yeah, we saw him close up on you as quickly as he possibly could, but you did lead for the majority of the race, and we saw maybe a few slides from you towards the end of the race, with it being an hour long on these tyres. What we heard from Kike, they practiced and sort of got the tyres where he wanted them for the hour long race. How did you find it? Did you practice the longer races, or are you concentrating on the shorter races that we have in a couple of weeks' time?
I didn't run an hour session, no. That was the first time I ran for an hour. But the tyres were okay, they weren't too bad. This car tends to get a little loose as the race goes on, so it's expected. But no, the tyres were fine.
Okay, and Red Bull Ring in a couple of weeks' time, completely different circuit. Have you ran there often, and what do you think of the track?
I think the only car I've drove in there is the GT3 cars. Maybe the Formula 3.5 for an hour or so. But it seems pretty good, so it'll be fun in this car, I think. Looking forward to it.
And have you got anybody you want to say thank you or hello to?
I'd like to say hello to the UK and Ireland Radical League boys. Hopefully some of them are watching. And to the Henry Robert, the guy that does my livery for my car. So thanks to him. Thanks to you guys as well.
Okay, thank you, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, thanks Dave.
So that was John Hutchinson, who finished second in tonight's race around Suzuka. Sam, do we have time for anybody else?
I think we might have time for one more interview, and well, really, there's only one man that we can bring up. That is Aldous Putaklis, who joins us in the in the commentary box now, who managed to finish in 3rd position tonight. Congratulations, Aldous, because that was some epic defending, because it seemed like for the whole race you had a driver stuck behind you. It seemed like Thurman, you were battling with Make for the best part of 40 minutes. It looked like a lot of fun out there.
Thanks guys, that was absolutely brilliant. I'm all sweaty now, I need shower, but that was a lot of fun, guys. I knew it's very, very hard to overtake, so I had to do what I can to defend to start with. But a lot of fun.
Definitely. How were you able to kind of stay ahead of Make? I mean, what was kind of your strategy when it came to defending against him?
I don't think they were actually pushing as well too much for that overtake. I think they were waiting for the end part. But I don't know, I wasn't like doing crazy defending as well. I was just taking those lines and making them hard a little bit. Well, yeah, overall it worked. And at the end, actually, when I was like 10 minutes or something alone, I nearly made a mistake because I started to relax too much. So that is actually part of the racing as well.
Of course, we had an hour-long race tonight. We've got a couple more hour-long races, but then next time we've got 2 25-minute races with a reverse grid. Which format do you think you're going to be preferring this season? The sprint races or the kind of longer races?
I think I prefer the longer ones, because if you mess up a little bit, at least you can recover something, you know. So I kind of prefer that planning moment and learning the lines of the driver in front and looking for the mistakes and that kind of strategy as well. That part, I love it.
Definitely, and we've asked all the drivers, because it seemed like it was quite a big struggle out there towards the end of the race. But how were the tyres? The top two kind of didn't think it was too bad, but how was it from your perspective, those tyres near the end of the race?
For me, in the beginning, the first 2 laps were the hardest ones. At the end, I'm not sure was it the tires or just lack of concentration when I was alone, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah, I can agree with those guys. It was pretty drivable. I think the pace was showing the same, you know, it's just that at the end I had a 5-second gap and I just did not have to push.
Well, it's been awesome chatting to you, Aldous. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I'll give a shout out to our team, Kinetic Racing, and you guys, and the league. It's amazing bunch of guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, and we'll see you back next time.
Yeah, hopefully.
That was Aldous Putaklis there, finishing in 3rd position. And I think that pretty much wraps us up then for tonight. Yeah, next round, Dave, of course, a break week, and then we come back after week 13. Red Bull Ring. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and I think possibly the easiest to overtake track this season, because we saw overtaking was tricky tonight. But I think that circuit might have a couple more opportunities, because we haven't got the long radius corners around there, but you still got kind of the long straights. So yeah, should be a fun one. Of course, will be fascinating as well with the sprint races rather than the endurance race.
Yeah, completely agree. Red Bull's a great circuit for overtaking, and I think these radical cars will be slipstreaming each other around the whole thing in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic to watch, and of course you can catch that on Apex Racing TV in a fortnight's time. Same time, of course, the same place as well. There's plenty of other stuff going on Apex Racing TV as well. Got 20-odd broadcasts happening every single week. In fact, I think currently there might be the Rallycross qualifiers going on, which is always a very good watch. Really super quality field, always in that one. We've also got the Super Trucks on Friday. We've got Apex Racing League NASCAR tomorrow. Got the F3 Championship on Saturday, the GTEs on Sunday, Formula V comes back on Monday, got Spec Ford Racer on Sunday, we've got, Dirt Oval, we've got NASCAR, we've got, of course, a lot of American broadcasts as well, so much stuff. So if you just subscribe to Apex Racing TV and also give a like on this video, you're far more likely to be able to catch all of our streams in the future. Also, big thanks to Virtual Racing School, to SDK Gaming, and to Apex Racing Academy for sponsoring this series. And do make sure to also check out Apex Racing TV's social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from David Whitehouse, and from Marco Barbier, we are going to say goodbye, and we will see you next time out at the Red Bull Ring. See you then.